Benjamin Castle are Americans. Watching the footy.
Bonus track. Hi again. I guess this is episode 96 of Americans Watching the Footy. Benjamin Castle here alongside my brother Ethan on Thursday evening in America, so Friday, just about midday in Australia. And we got a lot to talk about. We had our predictions about what lists were going to look like, but a lot of those are off, and then some other news has emerged as well. Yeah, I believe this is our first list episode of the season. We had a couple of these last year. I like doing these little impromptu things because we're usually more prepared or rehearsed. You're going to capture like a real natural conversation here between us, I think, because we haven't talked about this much all day. All right, let's do it. Not here to fuck spiders, here to talk lists. I believe that was an episode title, our premiere title for this year. I'm not here to fuck spiders. I know it was a title at some point. Let's start with the appeal news. Yeah, we had our first appeal of the year, and the MRO decision and tribunal suspension were thrown out. Jacob Van Rooyen is able to play. I am fully supportive of this. I'm behind it as well. I didn't think anything was going to happen, and I was mostly just looking at the suspension scaling based on the high impact and high contact and really not thinking about kind of what the laws of the game actually said. But going by rule, I think it was law 18.5, which is about being able to defend and spoil a marking contest. If you're going for the ball, then incidental contact shouldn't necessarily be punished. I get it if, there's front on that's called on the field, but it shouldn't result in a suspension, I think. And they saw things correctly here. So who's this on the AFL side that this got messed up? I guess it would be the leader of the match review, Michael Christian, because it was an error in their prosecution again, I would say. Just like how we had with Patrick Cripps last year. Totally different situation, the way this one went down. Rather than like poor prosecution tactics and disobeying the process, this was more about an error in applying a rule. Yeah. Still though, the fact that you've had 2 appeals be successful should be a bit worrisome to the AFL and maybe start getting them to wonder if the MRO's doing the job correctly. Well, if their job is to punish anyone for any tackle where they don't give them a little kiss on the forehead after, they've done a great job of that. Oh yeah, Brad Close is suspended. I mean, I get it. Like I said, at least it's been consistent there, and no challenges of those suspensions have succeeded. Speaking of Close, let's look at the ins and outs now, because some things are a little surprising for this week. Starting with the Friday games, Brandon Parfitt is starting on the bench for Geelong. But being in is not a surprise. And as we had learned before we pushed to last episode, Jai Clark is making his debut, wearing number 13, because I guess he can't be just exactly like Joel Selwood. I'm kind of disappointed. It sounds like he's going to start as the medical sub instead of be in right away and give some inspirational speech and then have his head bandaged up. We've seen a lot of teams do sub debuts this year. At least you don't have to rely on an injury to get them in. You can get them in for any reason. And, well, we've only had one sub this year that hasn't been used. It was Toby McLean. Yeah, I still think... You still think the guys should be named into the 22 for their first game? Well, I don't think it's about, you're doing them a disservice like that. I think it's more, you're asking a guy to all of a sudden jump in and he doesn't know what role he's going to be prepared for. Because, injuries can force their hand. Although some guys, I'm sure, thrive in that situation where it's like, you don't have time to think, just go. But I think most players probably be better off with like a bit more of a structured plan for their first game. On Richmond's side, I'm a little surprised to see Judson Clark omitted. Not surprised to see Noah Cumberland omitted. Clark is one of the emergencies. So is Tyler Young, because you have to remember his name is spelled with an A, not an E. We've been questioning his successes in defense, and I guess pushing Nathan Broad a bit further back to help is what they're going with right now. With Yvonne Soldo remaining out, Samson Ryan and Ben Miller are your 2 rucks. How do you see that shaking out tonight between Seglar and Blitzhaus versus Ryan and Miller? I think that should be pretty favorable for the Cats. I guess I'm not terribly concerned. I think there are other concerns. Just need Seglar to do what he did last week, play a respectable game.
He's not great at this stage in his career, but if he can keep up speed-wise, he won't be a net minus.
By the way, something else funny looking at the list for this game, if you're looking at, the oval diagram of the lists on the AFL website, Dion Prestia is listed at center half forward. Guess who it looks like is lined up on him in this diagram on center half back?
Tom Stewart.
Ding, ding, ding. Bring it. Ryan Myers also named in the forward pocket. Interesting. And Ollie Henry at half.
Just things are fluid. Guys move around. I'm not feeling a late Chris Scott change this time. I mean, I would love if it turns out, oh, okay, DeConing's good to go, but not expecting it, thinking there's a good shot we see him next week.
I mean, DeConing's not even in the list of emergencies, so I really don't think that's a possibility. If anything, maybe the sudden changes, hey, O'Shane Boland's debuting too.
Yeah, or you move Clark out of the sub role and give him a full debut.
Something there. Looking 80 minutes down the line for the Eagles, yes, Brady Hoff is in. Super pumped about that. We knew that he'd be able to play at some level this weekend. He's being brought straight in and got some bigger forwards that he can match up against, but if he can help close down the wing and really restrict Gold Coast access, I think that could do some good for the Eagles. Callum Jamieson is in to provide some support to Bailey J. Williams in the ruck contest because Bailey J. going against Jared Witz alone is not the move.
I think a lot of people are going to make Witz their captain this week.
I think it's a pretty obvious one there. Harry Edwards also in. Ethan, I know you're a big fan of what the Suns are doing.
Fuck yeah, I am. Mac Andrew and Hawago Oya in.
Along with Sam Day.
But I'm more excited about watching Mac Andrew run around. Hopefully we get some fun, like Papua New Guinea crowd shots too.
We need to see more footage from Port Moresby for when he's in, and
or better, they could all just bring him all to Australia.
Ooh, next time Gold Coast plays Sydney, you got Oya and then whoever knows Pete Loudons from back there. Because yes, Pete Loudons was born in Papua New Guinea.
Maybe his family was on vacation. Maybe it was a missionary thing. I have no clue. Could be a lot of reasons, but it's a fun fact.
Yeah, Levi Casbolt out for personal reasons. Hope all ends well there.
Saturday, I guess not really any massive shock in the Sydney Frio lists. Tom Hickey in, Pete Loudon's out.
I mean, Tom McCartan being concussed from what will look like something pretty minor is surprising, so opens up a spot there for Aaron Francis at halfback. Will Gould to come into the 22.
I have not been impressed at all with Aaron Francis so far at Sydney.
Hasn't ever had a spot that's been really his, but the real concern here is that it was a very Patty-like thing for Tom because he was concussed despite, no head knock or anything like that. So hopefully this doesn't run in the family like I'm thinking it does.
On the Frio side, looks like Nat Fife is just going to be the sub again.
I guess that means Will Brody remains out.
Unless there are late changes. I mean, they have, they don't officially name the sub until tomorrow, but
I'm not
for all intents and purposes, it's expected to be Fife.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of them not naming the sub. I would rather see, 5 named on the bench and 3 emergencies. It would also be way less confusing just like seeing, oh my gosh, this guy's no, wait, he's not actually omitted.
North Melbourne against Port Adelaide, we have a couple of things to go over. First off, Ben Cunnington omitted. Unfortunately, he's had a shit ton of clangers this year.
This is a wake-up call omission, and I like it.
Seems like a really cool dude, great story, but he's got to be better. Hugh Greenwood is going to be in for him. I don't know how much that moves the needle.
Port, we knew Junior Rioli would be out from his suspension, but also sounds like Charlie Dixon is going to be out for this one, and potentially for next week when, well, I guess it'll be Yarda Pulte playing Narm, if I'm getting the pronunciation somewhat correct there for the Sir Doug Nicholls round. I hope I am. But Dixon strained his quad at training on Thursday, and looking at the emergencies, I guess Ollie Lord would be the one to come in there like he did the first time. The other thing I want to note, apparently Alistair Clarkson reached out to Jason Horne-Francis, basically saying, hey, the club's got nothing against you. We obviously can't speak for the fans, but try to be on decent terms ahead of this first game that Horne-Francis is playing against him.
There was an absolute garbage take by SEN. Is it SEN or SEN?
Either way,
Either way, David King asking if Horne-Francis should be exposed to facing his former team. Like, what the fuck? He's in your best 22. Put him out there.
Exposed?
Like, do we have to protect his feelings? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
This is the first time I've really seen some some home bias stuff from Kingy in a while. Maybe it's just because it's the first time North's been relevant in this way. But
it's fucking garbage. Getting ratioed to hell and back.
is it maybe more like how much are Port going to need to protect Horn Francis? Is that more of it?
No.
Huh.
It's a shitty take.
Keep with your good on-field analysis, Kingy.
It's a shitty take. Hawthorn against Melbourne. Bunch of changes for the Hawks. James Blake, Luke Bruce, Cam McKenzie, Chankwath Jaff, and Sam Buckler all in. Fergus Green omitted. Jack Scrimshaw omitted. That's not good, Scrimshaw. Injury for Josh Ward. Connor McDonald sick. And Tyler Brockman, as we already knew, is suspended.
Bruce and Jaff were managed last week. Green being omitted for the first time just to slip in form for the past couple weeks. Again, the list pressure should remain on a good team, and no one's spot should be safe. I'm glad that's the case at North for Ben Cunnington, for example. As much as we like him and as much as he's done for the club, no one should just be guaranteed a spot no matter what. Other than Fergus being out, this seems like it's the closest that we've seen to Hawthorn's best 22 for the year.
Hopefully this is better than just reshuffling deck chairs.
Charlie Spargo and Michael Hibbert come back in for Melbourne. Spargo played VFL last week after recovering from a concussion. Nothing really shocking here with the omissions. It's Daniel Turner, who came up last week, and James Jordan, who always seemed like one of the next guys out.
I'm a little surprised they took Jordan out, and I'm a little surprised Trent Rivers is still in, but okay.
Jordan is also a very frequent sub, so I think he's just going to return to that role.
This is right around when we normally take a break, but we're not going to do that this time because this is a short episode.
So let's just push through this, yeah? For the Lions,
Surprised to see Noah Answorth omitted there, though.
never thought of him as having a super steady spot there. Jared Lyons was a sub last week. I expect him to be in that role again. Now, for their opponents, Jordan Ridley's injury was known, maybe less so these other two.
Yeah, Jake Kelly concussed, and hopefully future cap Darcy Parrish has a calf injury, so looks like Kane Baldwin and Sam Durham are going to be in.
Durham returning from a suspension, Baldwin, someone who had been well enough in the reserves last week that he could have been considered anyhow. Will Snelling remains out. Maybe he's a sub pick.
Yeah, I don't understand the thought that he's not part of your best 22. Same goes for Massimo D'Ambrosio.
Well, we don't make the lists.
Also surprised that Alwyn Davey Jr. is still in after barely showing up last week. But I kind of like it. Give the kid some time. Don't make him look over his shoulder right away. I get it.
If he has another subpar week, maybe that's when you can bring in someone like Patrick Voss for his debut in his place.
And it's all about how you frame it. It's all about, you got to present it as we're just doing what we can to help you out, put you in a position to succeed.
For the Bulldogs against the Blues, putting someone out there in a position to succeed means debuting them 36 days after they signed?
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest list story of the week.
So welcome, number 18, James O'Donnell. I mean, couldn't rise much faster than that.
No real surprises other than that. I guess Ed Turnout being omitted is noteworthy, but certainly merited. Also, Brody Kemp and Josh Honey omitted. We knew Matthew Cottrell was coming in. Matthew always joins it as well.
So some stuff about James O'Donnell. He's going to be a third-generation AFL player because his dad and granddad both played for the Saints. He was a Category B rookie, and he's a former cricketer just like teammate Alex Keith. So I bet they'll mention that on the broadcast of this one, that the Bulldogs have two former cricketers. It's almost like you got to mention that as much as somebody having a basketball background or maybe someone else being the former steeplechaser. They love stuff like that, especially on 7.
On Sunday, just 2 games. It looks like Patrick Parnell is going to be the one to jump in Nick Murray's spot. Lachlan Gallant named on that extended bench. Could be a sub pick.
Gallant, Ned McHenry, Elian Himmelberg, all in there, but Gallant or maybe Matt Crouch seems like an obvious one. I want Crouch to be in because I want the Crouch brothers to play against each other. They were my main character picks.
No surprises for the Saints, just worth mentioning that Anthony Caminiti's suspension is over. Should add a new dimension to their offense that's been missing the last couple weeks, especially last week.
Yeah, this is the first time we're going to be seeing Caminiti in there alongside Tim Membry. You'll see them kind of occupying different forward pockets. Hopefully they don't pull a Carlton and just go for the same marks regardless.
I'd love to see Roth Lyons' reaction if they did. because his reactions to everything are entertaining.
Very much so. Collingwood and GWS, just like for the other Sunday game, only extended benches, but Billy Frampton has a groin injury, and that sidelines him for multiple weeks.
I guess this could be a shot for Aiden Begg to get in. He's on that extended bench.
What it mostly means to me is that Mason Cox is the first-rate ruck for this game. I mean, unless it's Begg,
Mason is listed at full forward. I don't know if you want to look much into that, but
I'm not going to, especially now that Frampton's out. I mean, Ash Johnson is listed in that follower spot where the ruck would normally be, so they could just go with Cox and Johnson.
Cox and Johnson.
Yep, that was kind of what I was going for there. And you know what? You want to add some more height there, someone who can be in that forward spot and just be all over the ground. How about returning Reef McGinnis to the sub role?
I'd be in favor. I would assume that would also push Jack Inovan into the full 22.
No, because he's already there. He's in the 18.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, he's lined up there alongside Mason Cox and Jamie Elliott at full forward. Collingwood supporters have been pretty critical of Elliott this year, just not being as involved. He hasn't had a rest yet, though.
And then GWS, wait and see on Toby Green's status. That's really about it there.
He's named to the 18 for now. You got two Tobys there in that full forward line with Green and Snooze.
And you got two Greens, although one of them has a third E.
Tom Green had a monster game last week in a losing effort. That Green versus Bontempelli action. If you didn't catch that Giants-Bulldogs game, go back and enjoy that alone, even when it was wet. That was fun stuff.
All right, that's it. Find us on Twitter at American Spuddy. Also, I'm on Twitter at Castle Media.
I'm on Twitter at BenjaminHK01. Brian Harambe the Footy Cat is on Instagram at CatNamedGriad. And I'm going to go and edit this and enjoy round 9.